It was a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day in the first responders' eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car slid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on when those sirens are gone.
All right, welcome to the award-winning Mad Radio Show, coming to you live from Globe Life Park here in Arlington, Texas. You are listening to John and Jeff. Thought I was going to say Sam for a minute, but Sam is on Skype. She is on a little recon mission. She'll be joining us on the show. Welcome, Jeff. How you doing?
Doing well.
Jeff's a Rowlett police officer for the past, 21 years, man.
Yeah.
You know, this show is all about healing our heroes, post-traumatic stress injury, and how we can not so much get cured from it, but could kind of try to heal from it and overcome some of those battles that we face every day. And Jeff, let me tell you, you know firsthand through 21 years of experience how hard those battles could be.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, you're part of a badge of honor with me and Sam, and we go out there and we tell our stories. And your story is probably one of the most compelling because it's not one trauma that affected you. It's multitude.
Yeah. It's about 19 total. 19
traumas. And probably more than that you haven't even gotten down to those layers.
So 19 are the ones that are up front.
All right, I want to welcome Sam's on with us. I see Sam.
I am here.
I just want to make sure I got you on the air. Hey, Sam.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
We got you.
Well, hey. I'm on football mom duty tonight. So technology is awesome. And Jeff, thank you so much for being in studio because, as we discuss week after week, the whole issue of stress, whether as a first responder, you're experiencing it firsthand from COVID, or you've got some traumas like Jeff just kind of rolled out to everybody, 19. There is help out there, and it comes down to understanding that number one, there's help, and number two, there's a lot of people that can help you with that. You don't have to always rely on your department, although it would be fantastic if the departments would provide all of that assistance. But hey, it's 2020. We understand confidentiality. Smaller departments, your shit might get aired, and that freaking blows, doesn't it, Jeff?
Well, your shit getting aired is going to get aired either way. And so now I guess I'm more of the opinion of get out and get your narrative out instead of what happens at choir practice and, everybody's at the gas pumps filling in the blanks on what they think. So I think that's more the approach that I take now, especially is shit.
Yeah.
Here it is.
But after 21 years, you've seen so many different things change.
Sure.
From the when you first joined the force to up to now, the different programs, the different way departments handled stuff.
Oh, absolutely. We talk about, Sam, you said hopefully the departments will get out in front of it. Well, now we're at the crossroads right now, and in just the last 2 years, I was thinking driving over here, it was about 18 months when first time I was on your show. And
oh, that's right.
It was because I let somebody tell my story.
Oh, right.
And, they totally butchered my story. And so I kind of had to get some redemption of, no, this is how this went down. But in just that time frame, I've seen our department do a 180, and my administration has stepped up and said, hey, we're not gonna get left behind, and they've opened the door, and we've started a program. Is it the best program out? No, but I can you can name
something
umpteenth of departments around that guys still don't know that they can, if there's even help out there. And
what do you think it takes after 21 years? What do you think it takes for a department to really start opening up their eyes like your department did?
I think it was first recognizing that it's a problem, and that's the culture shift that I'm seeing, and I hope we continue to open eyes up. Is that the days of just suck it up are kind of done. It's hard being a cop right now. Straight, it's just hard being a cop, first responder, period.
I used to say I had tough skin, and I would say, when I got into the academy, like, you got to have tough skin, and I thought I did, man. I watched the news, and these cops out there today on the front lines, they don't have tough skin. They got alligator skin, man. Because I don't know if I'd be able to handle it the same way they're handling stuff.
Yep. The
stress that they're enduring, and you could see it in their face. They're swallowing all that stress.
Yeah.
By not being able to vent it.
One of the things I think where I really opened my eyes, I guess it was April of last year, April or May. I was asked to go to Austin to testify in front of Congress about complex PTSD, and trying to get that bill passed. That work comp in Texas will recognize. 3 years ago, we got the PTSD bill passed, that it's an actual work comp injury. And then they fought, on date of injury. Well, I mean, in my case, my date of injury is actually in 2000. And I wasn't diagnosed until 2017. So, and then how much happened in those 17 years that, what is my date of injury?
Right.
And what does this injury look like? And, it takes, I believe it takes like 60 days, 90 days to really manifest anyways, to where you really start showing signs. And, there's all kinds of loopholes from a law standpoint as far as work comp is concerned.
Which brings to a great point. You just said, it takes 60 to 90 days to kind of manifest, right? After a cop goes through a traumatic incident, the critical incident team comes in 48 to 72 hours later, right? Before your mind can even process the trauma.
Right.
And they try to fix something that you haven't even digested yet.
No, your brain hasn't processed everything. And, and I think part of being the cops, the cop side, we're good. And something I've learned on my journey is, hey, John, how are you? I'm
good.
Fine. I'm fine. Well, I also learned that the acronym that I heard was, let me make it PC, freaking insecure, neurotic, and excited, But that was.
Hey, let me jump in here real quick. Sure. Because you made a good point. John, when you talk about the debrief team or CISM, whatever you want to call it, I think now there is a much a better understanding of how to handle that timeline. Because I can tell you from my experience after 9/11, 2 days went by, we had a debrief, and mind you, we had no field office. So 7 World Trade was the last building to come down on 9/11. We had no home.
Right.
All of our evidence, everything gone. They could, the counselors that were sent from DC, they could clearly see in that room that we were not okay. I mean, I could barely talk, burst out in tears a bunch of times. I listened to my fellow agents talk about how they thought they were going to die, and that was it. So we had no follow-up, even though some of us asked, me being one of them, we had no follow-up. So when we talk about that acronym FINE, it was almost put in our heads that, we got the big fuck you from HQ, if you will. So what else are we supposed to say? Are we supposed to, wear our emotions on our sleeve? Are we supposed to tell a supervisor, hey, we're not doing okay? Well, we didn't know who to trust, because how many times can you ask for help, not get it, and be like, well, I guess we're on our own? And yeah, it was choir practice. I did it by myself because I lived in New Jersey, so I didn't want to go to the bar and risk, having any issues with alcohol with my G-Ride, because that would pretty much end your career right there. So I went home, self-isolated, used alcohol as my medication, and, tried to navigate and figure it out. So, yeah, fine was like the best word in the dictionary.
Yeah, but when you talk about 9/11, all right, there was, people, it took months and months and months before anybody even tried to process that through their head, because, you're in work mode, you're in recovery mode, you're in rescue mode, you're working. So there's no time for your head to go, holy crap, there's 2 buildings down. You don't focus on that, which brings to another good point that Jeff brought up. What traumas, do we debrief quickly, or do we, 30 to 60 days later? You get into a shooting, right, where there's a fatality. Maybe you're not going to see that for another 30, 60 days. It's going to manifest. But maybe how about doing CPR on a child? Will that manifest in 30 to 60 days, or is that something that we could, get a hold of real quick and try to heal?
Well, and I think what we're seeing now is the peer counselors are coming in and trying to stabilize pretty quick, and just, I think, open up that communication up front. It's like, Sam's saying that you're asking for help, you're asking for help, you're asking for help. And I kind of, I'm still pretty old school. I think I'm a generation behind,
Yeah, we're old.
But, it's, the senior guys to me, they didn't talk about this stuff, and it's okay to talk about it now. And I think that's the big shift right now, of getting guys in and, and having people that you trust come in and say, hey, dude, it's okay. Here's some things you can look forward to. I had this conversation. You talk about giving CPR to a child. One of our newer guys, he's been on less than 2 years. A couple months ago, they gave CPR to an infant that didn't make it, and I'm like, hey, dude, trust me on this, okay? Here's some things you're going to feel in the next, 3 days for sure. And he's got small kids at home. I worked an infant death. The baby was 2 days older than my daughter. And, it's just, God, talk about hitting home and,
right.
And, right in the feels and, but you talk about you're in work mode. So I was always scared to come out of work mode, because that's when I had to really start facing things.
You had to get it into your own head.
And as a first responder, especially, and the fire guys, I think we leave those guys out sometimes, most of the time. you get the next trauma before you've even got time to process. And that's what a lot of mine is, my journey is like, I've worked some horrible crime scenes, and you're like, shit. And, okay, we got this. It's gonna, we're going to work a week on this, and then boom, here's the next one. And it's like, okay, well, me and a retired firefighter friend of mine, we, kind of joked, said, man, we dealt with all of our traumas by just replacing it with new trauma.
Right. And that's basically because there is no downtime.
That's the cycle.
The call volumes are so high. The call volumes are so high. There's less manpower on the street. So, me and Sam visited, EMR in Fort Worth, where those guys are running 14, 15.
I was out there for that.
You were there, right?
Yeah.
Trauma jobs a day.
Yeah.
And how do you justify your brain not on overload?
And then, I got to the point when I started finally hitting my lows, just where I was deep in my hole. I worked a couple of cases where it didn't bother me, and I'm like, what have you turned into?
Now you're numb.
Yeah, I mean, there was no feeling at all, and I mean, these were high profile cases. We had a murder for hire where it was some volunteers with the police department. Hell, I know everybody involved. And our victim was shot in the forehead, and it's like, yeah, well, shit, let's get this.
Yeah, callous.
Let's get this wrapped up. And so it just, you never have time to completely process everything. And like I said, as I've started going through the healing process and the therapy and everything else, and start figuring out how the brain works, and like I said, it's a 60-day, before a lot of things can manifest. Well, hell, I've got 3 more cases that, from this one in 60-day time frame, I could have 3 or 4 more cases where that initial one, shit, it's way down in the duffel bag.
You said trust. That kind of sparked a thing in me. And, we've all sat, me, you, and Sam have all talked about, talking to somebody about, post-traumatic stress, or talking about, am I okay? You okay? You talk about trust, and when you say, I really want to remove that from the stigma aspect, because if I came up to you and you had a broken arm, I want to get to a point with this post-traumatic stress that I'm as comfortable as asking you that if you had a broken arm and I said, hey, how's your arm? And you said, well, man, it hurts like hell, but I get cast off in about 6 weeks, right? I want to be able to come up to you just like that with a brain injury.
Yeah.
Hey, how's your head? After that call, and you to be able to go, man, I'm just not right, but you know what? I'm working on it. I'm going to see a therapist, and I'm got to get that comfort level. There shouldn't be a trust issue. It should be it should be common conversation.
Yeah.
We got to get to that point where we are so comfortable talking about our stresses, our emotions, and our injury to our brain that it's just like talking about a broken arm.
Yeah. And we're getting there. We're getting
there.
there.
Well, I think the big difference is, when somebody sees on the outside, they see a cast, they see, okay, something has happened to you, right? So with post-traumatic stress injury, since it's pretty much silent, it lives in our head, there's that, well, if I say this, are they going to look at me differently?
Right.
Because I don't wear it on the outside for everybody to see. And I think, Jeff, you did say that the departments are becoming more open. I mean, speaking this last bunch of years to different audiences all over the place, a lot of the first responders that come up to me are like, hey, I've got a supportive agency, which is great, but I'm utilizing help outside the agency. And I always follow up with, well, did the department make you aware of those programs? And did they make you feel supported if you needed it? And it's starting to shift, and I heard from this one officer, yes to both, that not only does the agency absolutely support him getting assistance, but that he can get the assistance of what makes him comfortable. It's not a one-size-fits-all, as post-traumatic stress injury is not a one-size-fits-all. Jeff and I could be we could be at the same call, see the same stuff.
Yep.
And Jeff could be fine and I could not be fine. And we hear these stories from veterans all the time that have been in the same firefight, if you will, that some in the unit they never have a problem. If they do the studies, they follow them 5, 10, 15 years. Whereas others, 2 years out or less are needing some really serious intervention.
Well, that brings to the point too, Sam, why post-traumatic stress is so complex. You just said you and Jeff could see the same exact traumatic event, right? And you could be affected and Jeff could not be. But let's look at it this way too. You could both be affected, but you'll get your healing on a therapist couch. Well, Jeff may need equine therapy.
Right.
So that's the other flip side of post-traumatic stress is the healing process and the therapies that each individual takes. Finding the right one. Therapy. Yeah. Finding the right therapy that's right for you and that's going to heal you.
Well, how awesome is it now that, our organization, A Badge of Honor, and our other partners, that it's almost like with the number of organizations that we're partnered with, we offer a buffet of options.
An a la carte, if you will.
It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to be able to, to help people and explain, hey, this is what this looks like. This is what this looks like. And, let them help you. They're there to assist. And if this doesn't work, great. We'll try this.
And I think that's the other shift. I've been very blessed because, Sam, you were talking about you don't necessarily wear the PTS, like a cast, which I kind of disagree with because if I'm being completely honest with myself and really watching my career, early on in my career, I went from being Officer of the Year, and then all of a sudden I look up and I'm that problem employee. And my work suffered from it.
It's the flags.
I was vile to be around, and really the only emotions I had for a long time was anger and depression. That was it.
Right.
Laughter was, we laughed, but I wasn't happy. And it was just anger and depression. And I had an assistant chief that did intervene, and I was forced to go. But it wasn't forced to go sit on a couch. That's when I got introduced to post-critical incident in Huntsville. And that was the biggest blessing I had. Man, I met some absolute amazing warriors through that 3-day seminar and still very close friends with 3 people. And, I got that side of it, and that was kind of the start. And then I relapsed a couple times and, kept getting triggered up and then was able, again, I was blessed to find the right counselor for me that introduced me to EMDR. And, when we talk in our seminar, I talk about him quite a bit and him saying, hey, I got you. And those were the 3 best words I'd heard through this whole, just because it was like, shit, somebody gets this, you know?
You know what? I agree with you 100% on that. With you, you don't see the injury. You do see the injury on when you go from cop of the year to somebody who has never missed a day of work is now late or taking days off, or just, not as active as they were. That's another side of post-traumatic stress that we have to educate those around the people who are affected to recognize the flags, to recognize the signs and symptoms, to recognize the changes in attitude and the emotional impact it's having. Because we look at so many cops out there that were once great cops, and why ain't they a great cop anymore? Why you don't just lose that passion.
Well, and it's always been called burnout.
Right.
They're
True.
just burned out. And that's what, that was the lie I was living under. Man, I bleed blue. At the end of the day, being a cop is one of the greatest jobs around. You know, I've been asked if I would do it again, knowing what I know and going through all the shit that I've gone through.
You said, hell yeah.
You damn right I would.
Damn right.
Because, you know, as many tears as I've cried, I have belly laughed with my guys like you wouldn't believe. And you know, some of the funniest damn stories that you can't make up.
Right.
You know, you just can't make this shit up. And I mean, this is stuff I'll talk about till the day I die. And it just... getting this culture shift in, and like I said, getting departments to go, look, we have invested, because you know, and that's the other thing that I've talked about. You're investing over $100,000 per officer to bring in, you know, from academy time, training time, equipment, everything else in that first year. So why are you going to make $100,000 investment and just shit it away 5 years from now after the guy's been in, you know, he's been in the trenches for a bit? So, you know, and we're getting those investments back, and
are we?
I think so, because John, look at the.
I'm not talking about PTSD. I'm saying, are we? Look at the narrative that's going on in the.
We're
losing officers.
Part of that is a generational thing as well.
So we're losing that investment as well. We're losing good trained officers as well.
But we're seeing departments start to give back, and. You know, I come from the era of, and all three of us do. Your option was EAP.
Which was a citywide thing. It was some joke. Right, it was a joke.
It was an absolute joke. Go sit on the couch and talk to some guy that's never talked to a cop. That was my first experience talking to a counselor.
Sam was federal. She had those guys with the letters in front of them.
Oh
name.
Yeah,
she got the good.
She
got the good health care.
We got the diet.
Yeah.
But
it's funny that you say that, because when I went local, it was said, you know, you didn't want to go to EAP because you were getting eeped. So it was like a verb, not good. Yeah.
And I mean, I look at now what the options are, even in the last 3 years. I mean, think about the programs that we vetted in the last 18 months.
Right.
And now we can go and we can, you know, there's 10 organizations that we can rattle off and go, hey, go talk to this guy at this organization. If he can't help, go here.
Right.
Try that out. If that doesn't work, I want you to go talk to Chris. He's over here. He's a good dude. And you know, and that's how.
What's networking, and that's what's good.
That's a cop network as well, because you know we're not going to just call somebody out of the Yellow Pages. I want another cop that, you know, I don't care if you're painting my fence or if I'm going to therapy. You know, I want that person to be vetted, and that's when I say that departments are starting to invest back, and that's what I saw with our program. And, you know, I did a presentation for the city manager and assistant city manager to get this program off the ground to be funded. So now it's not just EAP. We have a menu. Now our menu needs to be bigger and better.
But it's getting there.
We do have a menu.
Right.
And me getting out, and I'm very open now about, hey, this is my shit show. Welcome to the shit show. I can tell you what I did and what really sucked, you know, and I can tell you what I did that worked out pretty damn good.
Right, but you have a menu, right? And this is what scares me. You guys have a menu, and just across town, there's no menu.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
So how many others in different cities, in different towns, don't have at least a menu to choose from, don't have that option? I think there's too many of them out there.
Oh, there's still, we've still got a ton of ground to cover by you know, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
you know what I think is cool? So I'm going to brag on us for a second here, is that when we're talking about menus, so, you know, we talked about on the show I believe it was about a month or 2 months ago, about an EMS, or an EMT rather, in Houston, reached out for assistance. John, you reached to me. I'm like, hey, call this person. Boom, took care of it. You know, squared away with the insurance. Got help. Just recently was contacted by somebody that I've known for a while. Had no idea how far down the rabbit hole he had gone. a former Fed like myself, and it was really bad. He was in a place where it was critical to get him talking to somebody that was speaking the critical language that he was speaking. Reached out to our network, boom, 2 places. He's taking advantage of one of our, I call it in-house programs in Texas. And so that's the value that you have. We're blessed. We have our own outside agency, cooperation network, call it what it is. And that's what we're trying to explain to the different agencies, that we can come in here and we can share our resources and we can be there for your folks if they want to pick up the phone, text us, whatever it is. They need to know that you've got their back 100% of the way, and that you will be the safety net, because we're not employed with the agency. Jeff, you are. So you act as a safety net for all the guys, and by that I mean women too, that you work with.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key. When you know, and I mean, come on, as a cop, it's always, I got your back, I got your 6. If you know you're in a place, in a job, where you can't fail ever, whether it's injury on the job, you hurt your back, or post-traumatic stress, that changes the entire dynamic of what it means to be a law enforcement officer in this day and age. And what I want people to understand, and what we all talk about, is all this defund. It's going to create an even bigger kind of separation between community and the police force, because your community is only as healthy as your police force and the people that serve the community. And I just, I tell people that all the time. I mean, don't you want to be a safety net? Don't you want to invest in your people to have the best organization possible? And the chiefs and assistant chiefs, of course we do.
But Sam,
then you need to do something. It doesn't manifest itself.
No, I agree with you 100%. And and you got me thinking on this twofold aspect. And Jeff, you're going to probably agree with this too. Is that programs need to be in place, but people need to know that there's a way for there is a program for healing, and then there's a program to talk them off the ledge. Talking them off the ledge. We heard, and we talked about this the other day, where the New York police officer last year was sent home, and he ended up taking his life because nobody helped him in the police department. We know a certain friend of ours who got his guns taken away, but they didn't take one gun away, And then we had the last discussion, and what scared me was, we spoke to 2 different people, 2 different high-ranking people, and we've asked them the same question. Well, what would you do if an officer walked in here right now and said, I feel suicidal thoughts? We got some wacky answers, man.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
That they didn't know what to do. They have to be prepared. They have to be prepared for this, because it could happen anytime at any place. That statement can come out of any officer's mouth. And I think we're looking at the healing aspect with the therapy and everything else, but we're not looking at the get them off the ledge.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most crucial and critical part.
Well, and I think here's where, again, I'm seeing the change to a degree. I know in 2 years I've got 6 saves where guys have reached out to me, or they heard us speak or something, and go, hey, you know what? I had a plan. I appreciate you having the balls to come up and say what you said. But I think as that starts to spread, of guys that actually reach out and go and have gotten help, and I know a couple guys in my agency and surrounding agencies that have gone out to get help, and and what I want to see them do is get through it. Tell somebody about it. Talk about it.
Right.
If it's your beat partner, if it's, your academy classmate on another shift, and, really be open about, hey man, these were the thoughts I had. This was my line of thinking, and pay attention to the guys you're working with. And I'm not in patrol division anymore, but I try to pay attention to calls that come out. And, and I'm quick to reach out now. That,
you do
especially
follow-ups.
some of the younger guys. Hey, man, I'm just calling, checking on you. If you need to talk, or, my office is open, my phone's on 24 hours a day, man, give me a shout.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
And I may not tell you the right thing. I'm not gonna tell you what's gonna fix. I'm not gonna be able to fix you over the phone, but I can damn sure point you in the right direction, and I'll walk every step of the way with you, man. And like I said, somebody that I respect, Clint Bruce, went to school with him, former Navy SEAL, started carry the load and everything else. He does a lot of motivational speaking now, and he talks about teaching from scars. And that's just something that's resonated with me is, man, you do this for any amount of time, being a cop, you're going to get scarred up. And one of the things he talks about, though, is you see that scar, go get that scar. That scar was worth getting. You see that one, though? Stay the hell away from that one. And, I've got no problem talking about it,
right.
My scars. And I think that's from Channel 5 talked about grassroots effort. And I didn't like that wording. I thought about that the rest of the day, and I was like, no, it's not a grassroots effort. It's a peer effort.
Right.
And I think that's a big shift that we're seeing is the peer counseling, the peer support of, I don't have any letters behind my name to say, hey, this is what we're going to do, but I can damn sure get you somewhere to somebody way smarter than me. And my big awakening, I guess, through this was in PCIS when I sat down with 29 other warriors that said, hey, this is what I went through. And, this was my event and this is my injury. And the first thing I thought was, holy shit, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one. I'm not the weakest link. I'm not whatever,
right.
you want to say. Just that comfort of having somebody else go, man, this sucked. And me to listen to somebody and go, damn, shit, I'm glad I didn't go through what,
right,
that was
right,
a running
right.
joke through PCIS.
I'm glad I didn't feel that, right.
I'm glad I didn't have your shit,
Right. Sam.
Yeah.
What, you discussed, someone reached out to you on a federal level, somebody was having an issue. Do you think that the feds have a better or a worse game plan in place for mental health, or do you think they are maybe behind on the states?
I mean, the folks that I've spoken to, they haven't mentioned that things have gotten much better. I think the trickle down, and I'll call it trickle down effect, because it takes the federal government. You practically have to move a mountain to start something new in an office. There's lots of numbers and letters and signatures
Yeah.
that have to go on a piece of paper to get stuff done. When after 9/11, I will tell you, I met with and you were in fire service, not in FDNY, but a lot of the guys said they could talk about what was going on and whether they felt supported by their peers or whether there was actually a person, whether it was from the city or outside the city. The fire service seemed to have their stuff a lot more squared away than law enforcement.
Oh, without a doubt, and I'll agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah.
Because you look at it, the fire service, those guys, the brotherhood that's within the fire service, those guys went back to the station and they were able to decompress a little bit and speak about their feelings. They were, they were able to hug each other, cry on each other's shoulders. The cops were sent back to their commands. They changed their uniform and they went home. A lot of them didn't stay in their commands. A lot of them didn't, stay around and talk to each other. Either they were working, sleeping, or went back home. The firefighters at least had that brotherhood, a tighter brotherhood, where when they got back to their fire stations, they were able to say, holy crap, and even if they didn't talk about it, you know what, it just took a facial expression, a stare, a nod to say, you know what, like you said, Jeff, I got you.
Yeah.
It doesn't take words all the time.
And from the police service, we have calls holding. So, I mean, that's the thing, and
yeah.
Our fire stations obviously don't run near the calls for service that we do. But I mean, I've been on several investigations. They're like, hey, what are you almost done?
Yeah.
We've got a page of calls holding. Okay. And it's just, the fire service, the dynamics that are set up there is crazy. I mean, it's good. I know our guys, I talked to one of our fire guys the other day, they went from 24-48, 1 on 2 off, to 48-96. So they're working 2 days straight and then they're off for 4 days.
Wow.
That sounds like a hell of a deal. As
Well,
long as you like your crew.
Yeah, but the fire service, they still see their share of stuff, and I think what happens with firefighters too is they see the stuff, they deal a lot with the traumas and the CPR and the rescues and everything else, that they share it at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
But that sharing is almost like hey, rub the dirt on it. Instead of going out for choir practice, we're drinking coffee and eating something at the kitchen table, but we're still not really releasing that trauma.
Yeah.
We're getting it out there, but we're not releasing that trauma. We're not saying, holy crap, that affected the hell out of me. Did you see that kid's face? I was holding that, I don't think we're opening up enough to release it all. I think we're just shadowing it.
Yeah.
And it's like that release valve, that we've talked about before. And since we're talking about fire, you've got the fire hose. I think at least they're able to release, hit that release valve and start talking about it. There's no, like Jeff said, the calls are lined up. So the fire hose for a police officer is already closed off because they've got to go to the next call. And then who do they get to open up to when they're off shift? For a lot of the guys, and it's other guys, but let's face it, at choir practice, you're in a public place, right? So what comes out? It's mostly, morose humor and stuff like that.
Right.
You're in a public place. It's different than if you went, I don't know, if there was a private meeting space or a decompression area at the police department or something where it's like, hey, let me just step in here and, this was so fucked up. I saw this and this and this, and you've been on the job. I mean, what the hell am I supposed to do with that?
That's why
and it's that lack of ability of being able to hit that release valve till whenever.
Well, the decompression office, I don't know if anybody would really go in there except to maybe have a cup of coffee, but it's almost like badge, trauma behind a badge. And I watched it last night with those guys. It's the parking lot talking. It's the parking lot talks. It's the outside in the parking lot where you could just let your guard down with you and your buddies and talk. And I think, that's a major impact. That outside discussing the shit and just letting it out. And I think instead of running, like you said, instead of going to the bar where then it's dark humor because you're not going to cry on your buddy's shoulder at a bar on a bar stool. But you know what? When you're leaning up against the car and you're letting yourself emotionally be vulnerable, around some brothers that you trust, you can emotionally break down. No one's going to see you in a parking lot.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I bet if that decompression room was a giant dodgeball field, that might be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool. But you know what I'm saying? Anything in the precinct, and me and you the other day, and you pointed it out perfectly, when we were out there and we saw that sign on the wall, we were both like, crap, who's going to go into this office?
Who's going to go in there?
Can't go in there. The office was already labeled. So anybody who goes into that office is going to be labeled. So, decompression room may be the same, it could, whatever it is. I think doing something inside a precinct, inside a station house, no matter what room you go into, you're going to get labeled. I mean, you look, even if you go sit down in the captain's office, just to shoot the shit, you come out, guys are looking at it like, what happened? Are you okay?
Right,
I was just saying, I was asking him how his weekend was. No, really, you got in trouble, didn't you? So inside a station house, no matter what office you come in and are out of, someone's going to have something to say. Someone's going to, jump to a conclusion, or someone's going to, expect the worst, unless you're coming out of the bathroom or the kitchen.
Yeah, we have actually a comment on the stream. The comment says, sometimes you talk yourself into thinking that's the cost of doing business. Yeah, true.
And I think that comes back to the next piece of this is the big training element, not just for administration, but for these kids coming into it is, and that's how I was trained, was, something bad happens, they're like, oh, you got your first dead kid, huh?
Yeah.
I remember being asked that. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
Right.
And then I was like, yeah.
Right, because now you can't go, you can't show any emotion.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, hell, there's a skin on the wall.
Right.
And
it's a notch in the belt.
Yeah, and then you go home and you're like, what the fuck?
Right.
I mean, but Jay's absolutely right. You do talk yourself into that. I knew this when I signed up for it.
Right, but you know what? When you really think about it, there's nothing normal about a dead kid. There is nothing normal about a dead kid. Nobody should see that.
No.
Nobody should be, seeing these traumas. There is nothing, and we convince our brains to normalize it, to try to protect it, but overload's gonna kill it. There's no way. There's no way you can normalize this.
No.
But we do. If you went into policing because you have a heart and compassion to protect and serve, right?
Absolutely.
You know what? We're not mercenaries.
No. We're
not mercenaries, man. There's no matter what kind of Band-Aid we put on there, it's going to fall off in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we have heart. So
and we've been putting Band-Aids on gunshot wounds for, years.
Right.
And that's again, that's the next piece to, I think our journey is to get the training piece in there. And, I would love to see in academies now that, and we've talked about this several times, I was never told, hey, man, you're going to see some stuff that is absolutely going to rock your world. It's going to change the way you look at the world. You're going to see things that you're never going to see on a movie screen.
See, I was told that in the academy, and that's actually the first chapter in the book that I'm writing. It's my academy instructor turned around and said, "Hey, welcome to the circus."
Yeah.
Right. So when he said that, he was like, "You're going to go to 4th of July parades. You're going to go to the Thanksgiving. You're going to have the front row seat to the greatest show on earth. You're going to be at the ball dropping in Manhattan. You're going to be so you're thinking of all these great things." He never told you what the price of the ticket was.
No.
And nobody wants to pay that price.
And nobody damn sure said, it's okay to not be okay.
No.
And that, that's the thing, man. And so you try to train yourself up and you trick yourself into, and I think that's, you lie to yourself.
Yeah.
That, man, this is what being a cop is. This is what it, man, did you see that? We had the motorcyclist go down, decapitated, we couldn't find his head. And I mean,
well, you joke about
that's the conversation you have. No normal person has a conversation like that.
No.
But hell, we do it over lunch.
Have you ever picked up a body part?
Yes.
Okay.
There's
Just
nothing
dark humor.
Yeah.
Dark humor. I mean, I've picked up an arm and slapped my partner in the face with it. I did.
That's pretty fucked up, John.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest.
But I slapped him in the face with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because mentally, I got somebody's arm who was hit by a train in my hand. It was the only thing that I could do.
And that was the only way you could deal with holding somebody's arm.
Correct.
Was to make a damn joke.
To make a joke out of it, and you know, and I've seen some people in harbor units. They'll pick a floater out, and as they got him, they'll make the body dance around the dock. It's like a zombie dancing, a bloated body, but it's the dark humor that kind of puts that Band-Aid on.
For the record, John, if you ever hit me with a body part, I'm probably going to kick your ass.
Yeah, ditto, man. You're going to have to start running there.
I'm pretty sure that's an ass whooping in there.
I'm pretty sure somebody tried that in one of the haunted houses that I went into, and it did not end well.
Everybody laughed.
Yeah,
everybody laughed.
But, no, yeah, of course. That's that's the stress release valve that we have, and we're not. This is me, John, and Jeff talking. This is part of the job. We're not trying to offend anybody, and and here we are. The hour is gone again, and wow, this was an awesome conveation, and we're gonna keep going with it. And
hey, Sam, I don't know if you could see this, but I got your clock.
Oh yay! Thank you.
All right, we got about a minute, Sam. You want to just plug the license to carry?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if anybody wants more information about what John and Jeff and I are talking about, what we do outside of what we do off the radio, it's abadgeofhonor.com. You can go ahead and click on Mad Radio. We got a link there. Make a donation. I see my clock. And the most unique way you can support Mad Radio, because we can't do this. Like, I'm on Skype. John and Jeff are there. Get your Texas license to carry. TheTexasLTCOnline.com. Your purchase of $49 helps out Mad Radio, that allows us to keep making a difference. Sorry about the background noise.
And John, if I can say something real quick. Guys, it's okay to not be okay.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Reach out for help. Talk to anybody. There are multiple options out there. You're not secluded. So once again, Jeff, thank you so much for coming in. I know you had probably a problem parking out there with
it's a piece of cake.
Oh. All right. Until next week, Sam. I'll talk to you later. And stay safe, stay healthy, reach out, and God bless. This is Mad Radio, and we are out.